This is going to be a test live stream to see if my equipment works. Now, many of my viewers had been asking me to do live streams over the last year, and I'm getting everything ready to do live streams, and I'm planning a live stream coming next week, and I'm just getting ready to get the topic down for this first live stream. So with this live stream here, I'm going to try to probably stay on for maybe about 10, maybe 15 minutes just to figure out how the equipment works. It's looking like the live stream is coming on. I got 2 people in the chats right now, and looks like and it looks like it's working out. So the topics I really want to talk about, again, are going to be about comic books, fantasy, and things related to the Black community. That's what I'm going to be talking about in the live streams. And I'm really working on these live streams so that I can really build up some strong momentum for the graphic novel Indiegogo. Because that's one of the big reasons why I want to do live streams, is because I really want to build up that momentum for that ISIS graphic novel Indiegogo so that it can get funded, because that graphic novel is going to require a lot of donations in order for me to be able to get that project funded. Because it freezes up when I type. I'm sorry. So I guess I'll just have to talk to you guys directly from the, I'll just talk to you directly as I read. So that's how I'll continue talking from here on in. But I was talking about the upcoming ISIS graphic novel Indiegogo, and that's one of the core reasons why I want to really do the live streams, because I want to build momentum for that project. Because again, that project is going to be one I need everybody's support to do, because I've always wanted to publish a comic book, and that's the project I really want to get out this year. That's my main goal. But I'm also going to be talking about other topics, and one of the topics I think I'll talk about for this initial live stream is this whole thing as related to this, what is it again? This whole thing that's related to that young Black woman at McDonald's who got choked out by the white dude. Now, in that incident, in the aftermath, we have all these Black women out here, and now they're talking about how they want Black men to go out here and be their protectors. And this is very disingenuous of these Black women out here to talk about how they want Black men to be their protectors after you've spent over 50 years deriding Black men, bashing Black men up in media, and disrespecting Black men, as you've sided with the white feminist movement. You sat there and supported the white feminist movement, and you insulted and degraded Black men, and then you're going to sit there and then say you want help now that now that your white savior is not there to stand up for you. So as I look at that incident, and again, I listen to these Black women who made these videos, and it's just disingenuous of them for them to say, oh, now we want the support of Black men. Because if you wanted the support of Black men, you would have stood by Black men. Now I look at that and I just say, you can't say you want Black men's help now that you're in trouble. Now you want Black men to be your protector. But you were out here touting and praising white men, but then you're going to sit there and talk about how you want the support of a Black man. And what was really sad about that incident is that a lot of people are not looking at these videos that these women are making, and they're just thinking they have to go and stand with these types of Black women who have been ones making the videos talking about swirling and deifying and worshiping white men. And they're sitting there and they're making these things talking about white men. They're talking about Asian men. And in recent incidents, we have these white and Asian men. They're the ones who are the ones beating up on most of the black women. And now that they're getting beat up by the black women, by these white and Asian men, now they want to come in and talk about how they want the support of black men, the same black men who they said were no good and trifling, the same black men they said they had no interest in supporting. And that just shows how dysfunctional they are, because you can't tell men that you said were no good to come out and help you out. Now, yeah, there was one black male coworker who came in to help her out, but then again, he came in very passively. He wasn't very active. And that was something that I saw in the video. I said, he's not very passive. But then again, that comes back to the way we have these black women have raised a lot of these guys. They raise these beta males out here. And these beta males, again, they're passive. So they're not going to come out and actively defend you like a man who's standing up for his woman, because they see a value in their women. So those guys aren't going to come out and stand up for you. And another question I have to ask all those black women, again, the same ones who deified and worship white and Asian men, is this: what about all of those so-called thugs in your community? Because one of my Facebook friends told me that this McDonald's was in an area where there were a lot of these thug dudes, and this was a rough neighborhood. So if this sister needed protection, then where were all of these so-called thugs out here? So that's another critical question I have to ask all of those black women out there. What happened to all those gangsters and thugs who's supposed to be so tough and so bad, and they said they could run the neighborhood? I mean, if they were supposedly running the neighborhood, then why didn't they come out to go out here and help this sister out? I mean, if they're supposed to be running the block, then how could this white man get that far with her? That's another critical question people need to ask about this whole incident. So I'm looking at that and I'm saying to myself, you know, where did all this come from? Where are all the thugs? Where are all the gangsters? Where are the guys who are supposed to be running the neighborhood in that case? So again, that just shows you how weak a lot of these so-called tough guys were. So these guys, they're supposed to be so bad, but when I look at all the incidents, like the one in Houston, Texas, where the Asian man punched the black woman in the face, and the incident where the Asian women beat up the black women, where were all of the thugs and the gangsters who were running the neighborhood in the face of? Yeah, well, where were the thugs and the gangsters who were supposed to be running the neighborhood and supposed to be, everybody was supposed to be scared of? If this beta white male could get this close to this woman, again, it shows you that these black men who are supposed to be the gangsters aren't running the community. They have the power to attack another black man, but they don't have the power to go out here and protect their community. And these, strangely, again, are the guys who are supposed to be running the black community. But these are the guys who sit there and say that whenever somebody's in trouble, they can't be found because they are too scared to go and confront a white man. Because that's something I saw when I was a couple of weeks ago. Me and my family member, we were outside on, 44th and 5th, and this thug guy just bumped into me. And all these white people were around. He didn't want to start with anyone but me, the black man. And again, all these white people around, but he could only start with me. So I just brushed it off and walked away from him because I knew what this guy was, and I know how cowardly these guys are. They want to be Mr. Bad with a black man, but they won't be Mr. Bad with a white man. And that's the thing that's really messed up about black women. They're sitting there and they're talking about they want black men to protect them, but you supported these thugs and you sat there and supported these thugs, but these guys aren't the ones out here looking to protect you. So I look at that and I say to myself, you know, this incident is one that's quite troubling because, again, it just shows what happened to black women with this feminist movement. And as Akwesi 100 said in his video last night, their chickens have come home to roost. They spent over 50 years devaluing the black man, emasculating their sons, and now they have no men to go out and protect them in their community here in the 21st century. And in the 21st century, now that all of these groups know that this black woman is vulnerable, most of these other men now see that they can just go out here and attack black women with impunity. And that's what they've been doing out here, attacking black women with impunity, because they see that there are no men to stand up and protect her like there were in the days of even in the days of Jim Crow, and even in the days before the feminist movement. There were black men out here to stand by women because those women stood by them. So in order to get the protection of black men, this is what black women don't understand. You have to go out here and you have to submit to black male authority. In order to get a black man's protection, you need to submit to black males' authority and acknowledge black males as your leaders. And then you have to be the helpmeet and support to that black man. But because your black woman is strong and independent and does not need a man, what she does is she winds up going out here by herself, saying she can do bad all by herself. And these days, things have been going very bad for her by herself, because now these other men, like these white men, these Asian men, these Arab men, these Indian men, they know that there is no black male leader in the community. What they're doing is they're just taking advantage of that vulnerability, and they're going out here to abuse black women. And that's what they're doing right now, because they know that they are not going to deal with any sort of consequences or repercussions as related to dealing with black women. They know that no one is going to go out here and help them out. They know that there's nobody there to stand up for them, and they know that there's nobody out there to defend themselves. Yeah, I do know about the Torrance, California incident at the bowling alley with the where all those black men, I believe, were killed, but I haven't got enough information on that incident. Well, I've got enough information on this incident because I've been making numerous videos about it, and I read about it and watched the videos on it. So with the McDonald's incident, I have a little bit more information, and that's why I made more videos about it. And that's why I wanted to talk about it in the live stream, because when I was going to make this whole video just about this subject, about, you know, black female protection, and they sitting there making these videos about black female protection. But again, they don't understand that a black man's protection comes with submission. In order to get protection from men, you have to go out here and submit to the authority of those men. Because in order for those white women, those Arab women, and those Indian women, and those Hispanic women to get the protection of their communities, they have to submit to the authority of those males. And once they submit to the authority of those males, what happens is those men then have incentive to go out here and protect them. This is something black women just don't understand. In order to get that man's protection, again, you have to submit to his authority. No man is going to give you protection without you acknowledging him as the leader and him as the authority figure, because in order to get his physical power, he needs your complete submission. He needs your complete cooperation, because in order for him to be the leader, he has to set the tone and the direction. Those other people, those other women, they understand to get that protection from their men, they have to submit to their men. And this is something black women don't want to do, because they believe that the government will go out here and protect them. They believe that the white police officer will protect them. But the white police officer, again, does not work for the black community. Neither does the white people work for the black community. No, they work for the government, and they work towards policing you to prevent you from being a threat to them. So they're not protecting you, and they're not acting in your best interest. This is something a lot of black folks just don't understand as related to the whole concept of getting protection from men. Again, if you read the Bible, you understand where protection comes from as it relates to black men. So you understand where it comes from because, again, protection comes from submission. That's the only way a woman gets protection, because she submits to the man and lets that man lead. But in the black community, black women don't want the man to lead, but then they want to go out here and get that protection. And yes, the woman was a boxer, but again, they had this guy hit her just once, it wouldn't have gone well, because what most people don't understand is even the weakest beta male has 8 times the upper body strength of a woman. And yes, she did get some hands on the dude, but again, one hit from a dude and she would have been down for the count, because again, these men have 8 times your upper body strength, and with 8 times the upper body strength, they can just hit you and knock you down. That's what I talked about in the video yesterday. And this is something women don't understand. This is something women really don't understand about the difference between men and women. Because when you have men and women, what happens is that women think that because a lot of them have been raised in this feminist culture to believe men and women are equal, but men and women are not equal, and men are physically stronger than women. And if you try to fight a man, it's going to get you hurt. And that's why I made the video yesterday, because I had one of these crazy SJW feminists come to my video, dropping a comment talking about all of this foolishness about how beta males came from, I don't know, I forgot what it was, but she said it came from some part of something about, no, it was about homosexuals. She said it came from them, and that wasn't the case at all, because I had the research to prove it. And she also talked about concealed carry as related to black women protecting themselves or carrying a weapon. And a weapon, again, will not help you in a case with one of these beta males, because again, these beta males, they're unpredictable, and you don't know what type of violence they'll participate in or how damaging it is. And again, these men have no self-control, and that is what makes them extremely dangerous. When you have a beta male, he's extremely dangerous, and what he will do is he has no emotional self-control, and because he has no emotional self-control, he cannot control his physical strength. And because he cannot control his physical strength, what he will do is he will hit you with the same force he'll hit a dude. Now, most guys, like a guy in my comment section from the UK, he will sit there and he'll tell you, he wrote in the comment section, a guy will control himself and he's not going to hit you as hard as he would a dude. But a guy from one of these single mother households and one of these beta males, he will hit you just as hard as a dude. And if he hits you like that, you are just going to wind up severely injured or dead. So looks like we have a troll in here. I'm going to try to figure out how to deal with this guy. I'm going to see what I can do here. See what they do. Okay, looks like I'm reporting him. I think I got rid of him. I don't know. We'll see. Because I don't like having trolls on my streams. Because if this is a problem for people, I want to deal with it, because I want my streams to be as positive as possible. I want the experience to be good for everyone. And I want everyone to be able to learn something from the streams when I do them in the future. Again, this is just a test stream, and I would have done this as a video, but I decided to do it as a oh, you still here? No, I'm okay. I don't need mods. Just trying to. I think I got rid of them. I don't know. Because where I used to come from, the comic book community, we didn't put up with people like that. We didn't really deal with trolls. If you came to somebody's message board like the Foosh, or you came to a place like Wizard World back in the early 2000s, they got rid of trolls very quickly. So I really don't want those kind of guys in my streams, because they suck the energy out of a good live stream. Now, yeah, he did grab her and he did not hit her. But the whole thing is, if he had hit her, it would have been really bad. So Black Uru, yeah, if he had hit her, he would have really did some damage. A lot of the feminists have women believing these idiotic notions that they can go out here and fight a man. But what will happen is, all that guy has to do is hit you once, and if he hits you in the temple, he could possibly kill you. Or if he hits you in the jaw, he's going to break your jaw. Because again, these beta males, they don't understand self-control, so they're going to hit you full strength. And that's what's happening in a lot of domestic violence incidents with these thugs and these beta males, is they will hit you and you're dead. And this is something Black women have left themselves vulnerable to as a result of supporting a lot of these feminists. Yeah, that counter really did save her, and it really prevented her from really having to deal with serious injuries out here. Yeah, I think she's suing McDonald's for the incident, and she should sue McDonald's, because I've been to McDonald's in other parts of the Bronx here, and McDonald's has really changed from where it was back in the day when I was a little boy. When I was a little boy, McDonald's was like a family restaurant. It was very safe, and it was a very relaxed place. It was a very comfortable place to go to. I mean, it was like, you go to McDonald's and you could get your Happy Meal, or you could get your Big Mac, and it was a very safe place. But ever since they instituted the dollar menu, we've been seeing a lot of dusty people coming into McDonald's, a lot of broke people coming into McDonald's, and because of the dollar menu and the cheap food, what's been happening is we've seen a lot of trouble at McDonald's. I remember going to McDonald's back in the day when I didn't have that much money. And yeah, it's not the same experience it was back in the 1980s. So I look at the McDonald's as not really a place you really want to go if you want to have a good experience. So it's not a place. Well, I don't know. I mean, I look at McDonald's. Yeah, again, McDonald's, it's not as safe as it used to be. And when you have a dollar menu and cheap food, it really attracts the dustiest people. And the dusty people, what they will do is they look to start trouble, and they also look to beg for change. Because I had people begging for change when I would go to McDonald's here in the Bronx, and it wasn't a very good experience there. And I've also seen, again, homeless people there in the McDonald's. If like on 125th Street in Harlem, on Lexington, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of homeless people who actually sleep in that McDonald's, and it makes it one of the most untenable places to go to. So what are the alternatives to McDonald's when you want to support a Black-owned business? That's a good question, Dave East. There's a lot of local restaurants in your neighborhood you can go to, and some of them are Black-owned. And I usually now I just go frequent the restaurants that are privately owned by other people. Now, back when I was living in my part of the Bronx, Morrisania, what I used to do was go to this place. It was called Concourse Jamaican Bakery. Now, they had great Jamaican beef patties and cocoa breads. And I think it was on 167th Street right now and in Morris Avenue. But that place was black owned, and it had some really great food. So instead of going to McDonald's or one of these fast food places that's usually owned by non-black people, you find the local restaurants in your neighborhood, the local takeaway places, and what you do is you go to one of them, and that allows you to, one, keep money in your community, and two, you're going to get some health benefits because the food there usually is cooked fresh, and the food there usually is very good. Now, the Concourse Jamaican Bakery in Morrisania, where I used to go to, they had some really very good customer service. People were very professional, and the food was very, very good. Now, they had expanded their menu a while back to doing things like chicken wings and French fries, stuff like that. I don't think they do it anymore. But again, you can find those restaurants to go to. Now, a lot of people in the Hispanic part of in the neighborhood, a lot of Hispanic people, what they would do is they would go to places like the El Valle, which is right next to the Concourse Jamaican Bakery, or they would go to the pizza shop. So they wouldn't go and spend their money with places like McDonald's because, yes, the food is cheap, but the whole thing is you don't want to go into an environment that's very hostile towards you. I mean, you have to go in there and you have to deal with dusty dudes begging for change, and then you have to sit there and worry about whether somebody's going to start something with you. It just isn't worth it. So it's just not worth the time to even deal with. So what happens is nobody wants to go to that restaurant for anything. So that's why I tell people, just find the neighborhoods, places where they have good food and good customer service, because they're all over, and just go to those places and give them your money. So if you see a place where they have the angry black woman who wants to give you bad customer service, or the unprofessional people, don't go to that business. Go to a place of business where it's going to give you what you want. Hello, Tim Drake. He's a new viewer who comes to my channel. So, but still, you want to go out here and give people who want to support you your business, and people who are looking for your business. So that's my advice to you for it. Looking for alternatives to McDonald's. But that's what I always do. I always look for the local restaurants, because oftentimes the local restaurants have the best food, and the local restaurants oftentimes they provide sometimes better service than the fast food places. So I look at that, and that's one of the alternatives you have. But when it comes down to black folks, a lot of us, we don't want to go out and put black first, but I always make an effort to go out here and put black first and try to find the black-owned businesses wherever they are. So that's one of the things I think people need to do as related to these incidents, but black women sit there and they say they want black male protection. And again, I just find that to be completely backwards when you sit there and you disrespect black men for over 50 years, and you sit there on shows like Oprah Winfrey talking about no good black men. You have people like Terry McMillan writing books talking about, and then you have these days black women writing books about white men, and things like David Carroll pointed out in one of his private videos talking about the black woman being her savior. And that just shows how completely backwards it is. And then when it doesn't go the way they want with these white men, now they want to make all these videos talking about how much they love the black man. And what's really sad is a lot of these brothers out here don't have the critical thinking skills to go out here and figure out that this is just a ploy to get your attention, and a very bad ploy at that, because what she's basically saying to you is that you are her fourth or fifth choice when it relates to having a relationship, and you are her fourth or fifth choice as related to being a support to. So she will go out here and she will deal with white men, and Asian men, Hispanic men, excuse me, Arab men, and then the thug Negro. But then after she's dealt with all of them, wants to come back to the decent brothers and ask for protection. And that's completely backwards. as I see it, just completely backwards. And I also see it as a bit of an insult. But I just see it as a complete insult to sit there and tell black men that you want their support and their help after you've been out here with all these other guys, and then you're going to come back to them. And that's an insult. Just letting people on other social media like Twitter and Facebook know that about the live stream I'm doing. But it's just an insult to us to sit there and say, you want us to be the guy who comes in here at the last minute. So I just find that to be completely insulting. You go out here and say that you want the decent brother to come out here and save you from the white man you got involved with, or save you from the thug Negro that you got involved with. And basically you were just saying that you're saying that this black man is toilet paper to you. And that's just a major insult to all of those black men out here who really care about their community and want to see their community be a place of positivity and want to build their black community into something great. So, all right, catch you later, JPY. And because this was just a test stream, I'm just doing this as a test. And again, it's just an insult to black men out there when they go out here. And thank you, J.L. Sonnen, that you have out here who are out here trying to make their community a great place to live and a great place for people. So that's something that's, again, an insult for you to come back to these black men at the last minute after you've done all this dirty work with all these other people, and then they burn you. You want to come back. And thank you, Pop Smoking Ghost, that you want to come back to this black man and then say, hey, protect me after I've done all of this skullduggery and all of this debauchery. I want your protection. And it doesn't, again, work that way. It goes all the way back to submission again. And if you want the black man's protection, you have to submit to his leadership and his authority. If you don't submit to his leadership and his authority, if he doesn't submit to his leadership and authority, then you can't have his protection. So whatever happens to these women is going to happen to them. Yeah, ballet dancer NJ, I am definitely going to be doing more live streams in the future. This one I'm just doing, again, as a test stream because I wanted to see if my equipment worked, and I wanted to be able to make sure everything was okay because I'm going to be doing more live streams over the next couple of weeks as I start to get ready to roll out my ISIS graphic novel Indiegogo, because with that Indiegogo, I really want to make sure that it gets funded. And no, it's Pop Smoking Ghost. That's his username. But I want to make sure that this Indiegogo gets funded because this is going to be the first comic I do under the SJS Direct imprint. And I really want to see one of my stories turned into a comic. So that's one of the reasons why I'm starting these live streams. The other reason also is to try to expand my readership for my SJS Direct imprint books that are on Amazon.com right now. Books like the ISIS series, books like the Eastine series, books like John Haynes, A Conversation with Death, which is the first book in the John Haynes series. I'm hoping to get the second one out there, which is Dark Succubus, but I'm still trying to find a concept for the cover, and I'm still trying to figure out who the cover artist will be. And that's what I'm trying to figure out right now, because I don't know if Mike Williams would be available, because Mike, he did an amazing job on the Conversation with Death cover, and everybody loves that cover. And it was a lot of people, they were sharing that cover and they loved it. I want to work with him again. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'll be able to because he's had some health issues. But I really would like to have him back for the Dark Succubus cover if he gets back to being healthy. What do I think about how they're going after R. Kelly? That's something I was really disgusted by, because when I look at R. Kelly, yes, he's done some very reprehensible and egregious things, but I look at it and I say that this is another attempt at the Me Too movement to go out here and demonize black men, because they used the Lifetime media platform to make this documentary to smear the name of R. Kelly. And they did that, again, to demonize the overall image of black men. And they also did it to deflect from all of these white men like your Les Moonves out here. And I forget the name of that other white guy who had molested all of those women, and Louis C.K. So they don't want us to look at these white men who are participating in this perverted and sexually deviant behavior. So they want to make the black man the boogeyman and the bad guy, so that you'll look at him and you won't look at these white men out here. And as Professor Black Truth was talking about, they want to make the black man the bad guy, and then they want to use the black feminist attack dogs to go out here and lead the charge of demonizing R. Kelly. But that's what they want to do with this whole thing. They want to make R. Kelly the face of, like, just like King Sigma is saying, they want to make R. Kelly the face of pedophilia and not have us looking at guys like Kevin Spacey, or have us looking at all of these white men out here like Woody Allen. Because I look at Woody Allen, no one says a word about Woody Allen when his own children have said that he participates in this sexual deviancy, and he went out here and married his own adopted daughter. But we're supposed to look at R. Kelly as some sort of sexual deviant, when I look at R. Kelly, and yes, he's he's participated in some egregious behavior, but this is what they don't want to look at, is the bigger picture of things. Because when I look at these females who are making these, or trying to play the victim, a lot of these females were the same ones I grew up with when I was going to high school, who were out here with these drug dealers. Because when I was out in high school, a lot of these girls, they would pass me by, and a lot of them would say I couldn't do anything for them. Like the girl who was a little bit interested in, she sat there and said I couldn't do anything for her because she was out here with one of these drug dealers. And a lot of these drug dealers back in the late 80s and the early 90s, a lot of these drug dealers, these guys were like the one that the girl I was interested in, she was dealing with a 23-year-old dope boy. And a lot of them were dealing with these dope boys, because I remember one of my family members telling me about the girls in her school and how they were dealing with these 21, 22, 23, sometimes even 30-year-old guys, in the hopes of getting resources out of these guys. They were getting cars, they were getting shoes, they were getting their hair done, they were getting their nails done, and they were sitting there bragging and talking about their dope dealer boyfriends, and they were sitting there acting like they were all that. I remember, again, being in Park West, and these girls they would thumb their nose at me and act like they were so much because they had a dope dealer boyfriend. And hey, what's up, Benny G? These girls would sit there and they would act like they were so much. And now a lot of these same ones, again, in this R. Kelly documentary, talking about boo-hoo, extra salty tears, that this man is supposed to be some sort of predator, but you were just as predatory as the dude in things. You're sitting up there, going out there with these guys. Oh, thanks, Benny. I'm just testing things out. But this is what they would do. They would go out here with these dope dealers. They would go out here with these thugs who were older than they were. And they were just as complicit. And in some cases, their mamas were down with this stuff too. And this is something a lot of people don't know. A lot of these girls, they were out here. Their mamas were signing off on it. Their mothers were down with it. And their moms were out here letting this go on because they wanted to get the big screen TVs. They wanted to have the VCR. They wanted to have their rent paid. They wanted to be able to ride around in the Mercedes that he bought her. And this is what they do, because that's what they do. They would pimp their daughters out. They would support this stuff. And I saw it happen, again, right in front of me when I was at Park West back in the late 80s. I saw it at Taft back in the 90s. And when these guys were going down like this, again, regular brothers like myself who were just in school, it just was something that we just had to just deal with and just leave them alone, because that's one of the reasons why I didn't get involved with a lot of girls in high school, because when it came down to it, I didn't want to get involved. They were out here with these dope boys, and some of them were out here with 2 or 3 dope boys, and this is why some of these guys would wind up getting killed, because these chicks would go out here and they would be trying to play these dope boys in the hopes of getting stuff out of them, and they would play 2, 3, 4 guys in a row. So this is something people don't want to talk about as related to R. Kelly, but if you were out here and you went to high school in the late 80s and the early 90s, you knew that this is what went on, that these girls were out here with these 20-something dope boys, and these 20-something dope boys was buying them everything. Because I remember, again, used to seeing them when I was at Park West, and I would see them at Taft. They'd be wearing the shearling coats, the leather jackets, they had the Gucci boots, they had the Gucci bags, and they wasn't getting that working some, what is it, $4.25 an hour job at the time at a KFC or a McDonald's. No, they wasn't getting that type of money to buy that type of stuff. No, they was getting that from the dope dealer boyfriend who was going out here and pimping themselves out and prostituting themselves out to the dope boys, because that's what they wanted out here. That's what they wanted. They wanted to be able to get stuff out these guys, and they wanted to be the fly girl, and that's what they would go out here and do. So, but now they want to say that they are victims of R. Kelly, when in actuality, if these girls saw R. Kelly, again, and chances are they went with your R. Kelly willingly. Now, R. Kelly is not someone I'm a fan of. I'm not a fan of his music, and I'm not a fan of him because I believe his behavior is just disgusting. I mean, he clearly knew better to deal with underage girls, but I also know how those girls got down, because that's how they used to get down in my neighborhood back in the day. I mean, I remember seeing them getting out of the dope dealer's Jeep, getting out of there with their shearling coats and their gold chains, and again, supporting this urban terrorist who was literally oppressing the entire community with his criminal behavior. So I understood back then what that was about. So I listened to that, and they're sitting there talking about how they're victims, but they're not victims at all. So listening to that, it just really makes me look at it and go, no, you can't sit there and say you're a victim 25 years later and revise history. But that's par for the course as it relates to the Me Too and Time's Up movement. They try to make these women out to be victims when they were just as complicit in here, participating in that type of behavior, because they couldn't have gotten that far if they had not complied with R. Kelly. If they were cooperating with him, they were supporting him, and they were down with it as long as they were getting what they want. But now that, because they can't, they're old, a lot of them probably are single mothers and probably ain't got no money and are bogged down in debt, they want to come out here and revise the story to make themselves out to be victims, but they're not victims at all. What it really is that white corporate America, white Hollywood, they want to find a bad guy to make out of a black man. And they believe if they make this black man into the villain of the story, then what they can do is go out here and deflect from all of these white men who have been participating in all of this perverted and sexually deviant behavior, like your Kevin Spacey and many of these other white men like Les Moonves out here. And government tries to shift the narrative to make it into a black thing, because that's what I've said, the white supremacists, they try to turn it into a black thing and demonize black men. They always boomerang it and turn it right back over to white men. The reason why they do that again is because your hypergamous white woman wants to get access at those white men's resources, and they know that the black man does not have the resources that white men have. They know that the white man usually is the one who gave the black man the resources. So they're not going for the small change of Negroes like R. Kelly or Bill Cosby. What they really want to do is go after those billions of dollars of these white men like your Les Moonves, who has several billion from running CBS. They want to go after the big money so they can get the big payday. And that is part of their plan, is going out here to get that big money from these white men and these white corporations, because that's what these old white women want. They want to be able to go after that money. And looks like we have a white supremacist troll here. Time to flag him for hate speech. And get rid of this troll, because I'm not going to have that on here. Because I'm going to deal with these guys the way they need to be dealt with. I'm the moderator right now, so Brother Cap, I'm just trying to make sure that everybody has an enjoyable experience here. So if I see trolls like that, I'm just going to get rid of them very quickly, because that's the way we used to do it on the comic boards. But that's what the Me Too movement wants to do. Looks like we have another one of these trolls. Sad that these beta males, they want to come to your channel and talk this racist stuff, but they won't go and make their own live stream. Yep, these alt-right beta males are pretty pathetic. I mean, yeah, I'm going to have to add some moderators to the stream maybe next time when I do the comic book ones, because I'm not going to deal with this type of stuff on here, because a lot of people, again, have been asking me to do these streams, and it's just sad that you get these guys who want to come here and look to argue and look to start drama when we're having a conversation that's really constructive. And again, my point was that the Me Too movement, what they want to do is go after these white men, because they want the big money. They don't want this Negro small change, but these white supremacists, what they want to do is they want to keep making the narrative all about black men. So that's why they'll go after a guy like an R. Kelly and try to label him a pervert and a sexual deviant, when in actuality, there's been a lot of perversion and sexual deviancy in Hollywood for years. I mean, if you read about the history of Hollywood, you'll find out all sorts of stuff as related to perversion and sexual deviancy that these white men have participated in for years, and how these white men have had side pieces, how they have used the casting couch out here, and they have literally been giving away roles to white girls for years out here in Hollywood. So they want to sit there and try to make it a black thing. But again, black people did not make Hollywood. Black people did not create the institution of Hollywood, and black people do not control the institution of Hollywood. And that's something everyone really needs to think about as related to this whole thing, as related to R. Kelly. R. Kelly, again, he's just an employee of Hollywood, and he's just a symptom of the bigger problem. And as we get into the bigger problem, which is all of these white men, they want to keep our minds off those white men, because those white men are the big problem. They're the ones out here participating in all of this sexual deviancy, and they've also participated in things like the pedophilia, and they've participated in even in things like bestiality. If you dug deep into Hollywood like I have when I was researching Hollywood, it'll just make your stomach turn. I mean, guys like Woody Allen, they recently did a report saying that he was alleged to have participated in a relationship with with a 16-year-old girl back as far as the 1970s. So here we go. Well, the whole thing is that, yeah, that Woody Allen participated in sexual deviancy with a 16-year-old as far back as the 1970s. So I'm listening to that, and yeah, they're going to sit there and make it like, oh, black men are the perverts, but it's not black men who control Hollywood, or I think, yeah, that's what they do. They want to say it's us, but it's not us. Again, all of this has been going on since the early days. Thank you, Ballet Dancer 1910. Yeah, since the 1910s and the silent films. So this has been going on for years, but they want to make it look like it's black men doing all of this, and they want to go out here and then try to demonize, starting with Bill Cosby, and then try to go down the list. But in their attempt to go down the list, what has happened is that all of their perversion and sexual deviancy has come out, and everybody knows about all of the sexual deviancy of all of these white men out here. And this is what they want to try to hide, but you just can't hide it, because when Roger Ailes gave Gretchen Carlson that $20 million, it kicked in the hypergamy in these white females. And the only way that this is going to stop is for them to get the access to those resources, because those women now know that they can no longer trade on their looks. They know that they cannot sell that body anymore, and they know that they can't sell themselves in Hollywood anymore, and they want to be taken care of. So that's something they want to do out here, is they want to go out here and do is find a way to get taken care of in their old age, because they know that these simps out here, they cannot go out here and get any more simps, because once a woman hits like 30 in Hollywood, and I wrote about this in my screenplay book all about Marilyn, once a woman hits 30, she can't get the acting roles anymore, and because no one writes them. And I talked about this also in All About Marilyn. Nobody writes scripts for you, so usually a lot of these women, they're just out here and they're pretty much done overall in Hollywood. Once you hit 20, 30, or 35, there's not that many roles out here for women. So these actresses, they know that they can't get anywhere anymore. So they know that that's why they want to be a part of this Me Too movement. They want to be able to revise and rewrite history to make themselves out to be the victim of behavior they willingly participated in and were complicit in. So that's what the Me Too movement really is all about. It's about these women who were victims. They're not victims. They were saying that they're victims, but they were actively, complicitly participating in this behavior. Yeah, ballet dancer. Asia Argento should have been locked up. She should have been prosecuted, because that's what's also very troubling about the Me Too movement, is the double standard they have. They want to make these allegations against men, but we don't see any sort of legal action being taken against your Asia Argento, who clearly there's evidence of her participating in a statutory rape of this young boy. And your LA prosecutor won't arrest this woman, won't prosecute this woman. And that's something that should have been prosecuted, because this woman clearly committed a crime. And if the Me Too movement's mission is stopping sexual harassment and sexual assault, then I would believe that they should go out here and be out to stop sexual harassment and sexual assault of not only just women, but men and boys as well. Because when I look at the troubling trend of all these white female teachers participating in this pedophilia against teenage boys and the statutory rape of teenage boys, again, you would think the Me Too movement would be out here in force trying to do something about this. Because if you're supposed to be about stopping sexual harassment, sexual assault, and sexual abuse, again, you would think you would want to stop that for both boys and girls, and you think you would be out here trying to fight against this whole trend of white female teachers molesting teenage boys. But that's where we see the hypocrisy of this Me Too movement, and that's something that we really need to really call out on, because when I look at that again, that trend of women molesting boys, that's something that really needs to be dealt with. Because back in the 40s, they had this guy called the Woo Woo Kid, and he was out here with women. He was like 14, 15, and prosecutors prosecuted him. And that's something we're not seeing from the LA prosecutor today that we saw in the 40s. In the 40s, they went out and prosecuted women for going out here and having sexual relations with underage boys. But that's where the Me Too movement proves to be hypocritical, and they support and condone sexual abuse of these teenage boys, because that's what this is when you look at the Me Too movement. And it's like you're supporting and condoning the molestation of teenage boys. And again, that runs counter to the so-called mission of your Tanara Burke. And it also shows how this whole movement really isn't about, again, stopping sexual harassment and sexual assault. It's really all about getting access to those rich white men's resources. That's what it's really all about as it relates to this Me Too movement. It's just not about stopping anything that's related to sexual harassment, sexual assault, and sexual abuse. Because if it was, they would be out here trying to stop this as related to not only just these so-called women in Hollywood, but also towards especially young boys and young girls, because that's where the whole movement should have been all about. But again, you have white supremacists who want to turn it into an evil black man movement, and you have white feminists who want to use it as a hypergamy movement. So the whole movement has become completely hijacked by these two forces, and that's why it's just run completely off the rails. Now, when it comes down to this Me Too movement, again, I have my issues with it, and I don't understand it, but I try to explain it as best as possible. But that's something that I just see it as. And when people try to talk about R. Kelly, as they talk about R. Kelly, again, R. Kelly, this was done as a way to try to deflect from these white men. And Professor Black Truth made a brilliant video talking about that last week. And I urge you to go see that one, because he really breaks down all the guys who are out here, all these white men and even some of these Jewish men who have been caught out here participating in this type of criminal behavior. Because I look at it, and yeah, that's what's been going on. But that's what they want to do. They want to make R. Kelly the bad guy. And again, you have to really, again, question who was the one paying for this thing. Because when I look at the Lifetime Television Network, again, this is a network that is notoriously known for pushing victim narratives and pushing victimology in all throughout the media. And they wanted to go out here and make these women out to be this victim. But again, where are the documentaries on your Woody Allen? Where are the documentaries on Stephen Collins? Where's the Harvey Weinstein documentary? If these networks are supposed to be so objective, then you would think you would want to make documentaries about these men, especially your Harvey Weinstein. Now, Harvey Weinstein has all these victims, yet Lifetime does not spend any resources to make a documentary about your Harvey Weinstein. And that's something black folks need to make a critical question about, because I look at that and I say to myself, you know, you talk about R. Kelly and you don't want to say anything about Harvey Weinstein, who was out here making deals with people like Rose McGowan. You think you would want to make that documentary, but they don't want to make that documentary because when it comes down to Lifetime and all these other companies, again, they don't want to alienate the man who finances a lot of these people, because Weinstein was the guy who financed a lot of these people, and he allowed a lot of these people who weren't really good actors to get jobs out here. So I'm looking at that and I'm just saying, you know, that's the guy you should have made a documentary about, but then you want to come out here and make the documentary about your R. Kelly. And your R. Kelly really, again, is old news. Your Harvey Weinstein is relevant. So you think you would want to film this documentary about him, but you don't want to film that documentary about him. And that just shows you, again, what this whole Me Too movement is really all about. They're all really about, and this whole white supremacist thing is all about. It's about smearing the names of black men and tarnishing the image of black men. So they want to make this black man to be the boogeyman, and that's all part of the campaign that they've had over the last about, I say, 6 months to a year or so, as the Me Too movement was derailed originally by all these white men being taken out. But the thing is, they want to try to get back on track. But I'm sitting there going, again, where is the Harvey Weinstein documentary? Where is the Woody Allen one? Where's the Roman Polanski one? And they don't want to talk about that, because to talk about that would open a can of worms for Hollywood, which would reveal the truth about Hollywood and what goes on in Hollywood. Because a lot of these actresses, again, they trade sex for parts, and it's been done ever since the 1910s and the inception of Hollywood. And even some of these men out here have traded bodies for some of these producers, because when it comes down to a lot of these producers and a lot of these people who run these studios, well, again, a lot of these guys are sexually deviant. And once they've had enough women, they then start turning to the men. It's just like David Carroll was saying about the pastor out here, because it's about the power these guys get. And they are so used to women that they just start going on a power trip to go out here and be with men. And then their deviancy escalates into even other things that they do, even with animals and children. That's how deeply disturbing your Hollywood truly is. And people knew about Hollywood. It's like I was telling my family member, it's like a hot dog factory. Well, if you found out how your favorite films were made, you wouldn't want anything to do with Hollywood, because that's how Hollywood gets down. It's just one really disgusting place, and it's a place where all sorts of crazy stuff goes on. So when I look at Hollywood, again, it's not what people think it is. It's not as glamorous as you think it is, and all sorts of crazy stuff goes on in Hollywood. So I look at the whole R. Kelly situation, and again, it's just a big deflection. And sadly, especially a lot of black women fell for it. They fell for the game as related to Hollywood and the narrative they wanted to push. They were sitting there believing that, oh, he's such a predator, when Hollywood is filled with predators. It's just filled with a boatload of predators. And these guys are just the tip of the iceberg as related to the predators that are a part of Hollywood. So, I mean, again, this is something I wrote about way back when I wrote my first book, all about Maryland, in 2009. And in that screenplay, I talk about, how messed up Hollywood is, especially as related to, in that story, was related to black actresses and how they're treated and how they're at the bottom of the totem pole, and how Hollywood only wants to see black women in certain roles, and how Hollywood wants to take certain scripts as related to black women, because in the story, the Marilyn character gets a script from a black screenwriter, and she's trying to get it produced, and they tell her that she can't have that script. And then later on, when she gets older, they give that script to a white woman. And that goes on all the time in Hollywood. You'll have a script that a black actress will have, and then she'll go out here. They'll take it and give it to a white woman. They'll buy it from the black screenwriter, hire a white screenwriter to rewrite it, and then give it to a white actress. So that goes on all the time in Hollywood as related to black screenplays and the representation of black people. Now, something I saw that was quite troubling was your Regina King at the Golden Globes. This was something I saw. She was sitting there talking about how she wanted to make productions that she worked on 50% women. And what I really found to be troubling was she did not say 50% black women. And this was something I wanted to address while I'm here on this stream, is she sat there and talked about 50% women. And when you hear anybody talk about 50% women and they don't say black, you need to really question that when they say that. Because if they don't put black first, that means they're not putting black first. That means they are buying the so-called diversity narrative. Now, this is similar to what I think, what is it, Patricia Arquette had said at the Oscars when she talked about underpaid women. And when she made that statement a couple of years ago, I said, this woman is full of crap, because she's sitting there talking about underpaid women, and she didn't even understand the pay disparity. It was just because she was talking about equal pay, and she's talking about underpaid women. I'm sitting there going, Demi Moore got $20 million a picture. Julia Roberts gets $15 million a picture. And when I look at all of these black actresses out here, a lot of them who I know are very good, like your Tia Mowry's, your Sally Richardsons, your Persia Whites, and many others, like Kimberly Elise. Those black actresses, they get paid pennies on the dollar in proportion to the white actresses, and they get parts stolen out from under them. And they're sitting there talking about they wanted equal pay. And I said to myself, this is garbage, because when I was doing research for All About Marilyn, I just sat there, I said, these black actresses get paid nothing for their roles. And they're sitting there talking about equal pay, when, again, there's been more than equal pay for the top white actresses for years. A white actress, again, can go into any thing and negotiate a deal for herself where she's sitting there and she's getting top pay. I mean, again, Demi Moore made $20 million and $15 million a picture. Julia Roberts made $15 million a picture. And many of these other white actresses, they do very well. But name one black actress outside of Halle Berry who got that type of pay, and you just can't do it. So I sit there and I look at Regina King, and I'm sitting there going, how can you sit there and talk about 50% women when nobody is making efforts to give black women equal opportunity in Hollywood on production? So that was something. Yeah, Sandra Bullock also got paid. She was paid very well. But those white actresses get paid and broke off, but the black actresses get nothing. And it's still going on because, yeah, the actresses in Black Panther, they got nothing either. So they get nothing. And they sit there and they're sitting there talking about she wants to make it 50% women, and all she's going to do is allow white women to go out here and get jobs at her expense. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this, and I sat there and said, you just sitting there making this statement, talking about women and sounding like you part of this feminist movement and this Me Too stuff, and it's related to Hollywood, and they're not thinking about you. And it's talking about Ava DuVernay. Well, we know what she is. I thought she was somebody who was out to help the black community, but I found out later on she was just a sellout because of what she did for A Wrinkle in Time. Because what Ava DuVernay did with A Wrinkle in Time, that really just aggravated me, because when it comes down to African-American fantasy, you know that it's something I've been advocating for years. And she literally squandered the opportunity of a lifetime. She didn't even care about the opportunity and what it meant to the black image. And she didn't care about the black community. She just went out here and said, oh, I don't care about what this film or what I make. And that's what really aggravated me about her, because she sat there and had this $100 million budget, which most black directors dream of getting, and she squanders the whole opportunity. And what she didn't understand is that literally closed the door for Black fantasy for an entire generation. And that's something that really disgusted me about Ava DuVernay. I mean, when I watched her film, I Will Follow, which featured Sally Richardson, and Sally gave a great performance in that film, I thought she was going to be one of the great directors. And that's when she was just a nobody at the time, back about 2008, 2009, because I still have that DVD. I thought she was going to do something for Black people. And when the way she turned out, that's what really disgusted me. She just literally turned her back on the Black community. And then she went out here and made A Wrinkle in Time and stuck a middle finger up at the Black community by making this film, and then not even caring about what she made in that film. She didn't care about the quality of the film. She didn't care about the quality of the story. And her whole attitude towards filmmaking with A Wrinkle in Time, again, was just incredibly unprofessional. And when she made this incredibly terrible film, it set Black people back, because Black Panther, when it made $700 million, opened the door for Black fantasy and Black sci-fi and showed that we had an audience for it. But then she quickly hurried and closed the door for that, because had she made a good film, that would have built some momentum, and we might have started to see more Black fantasy and science fiction films. But because of her, we may not get an opportunity to see more Black fantasy and science fiction films from a movie studio, or get the financing that they need, because she squandered $100 million. And yeah, Rubber Band Man, if she does New Gods, I don't expect her to do a good job based on what she did with that minstrel show, A Wrinkle in Time. She just really messed that up so badly. And again, it just makes me shake my head, because I look at I Will Follow and I look at the great job she did directing that film, and she took a career that could have been promising and just turned it into complete garbage. And when she did it, turned it into complete garbage, what she did was prevent other Blacks from being able to come in the door, because I know that there were a lot of other Black people who could have come through that door, but she closed the door for Black fantasy and science fiction as I see it. And because if they see one film that's not doing well, what they're going to see is other films not having an opportunity to come in. Now, I might take a look at A Wrinkle in Time. What is it? Because it's on Netflix right now, and I have Netflix. So I may go out here and take a look at it. Yeah, Libra Legend. This is a test stream. I've been talking for about 1 hour and 12 minutes, but this is a test stream so that I can see how things work before I go and do another one. And I wouldn't have bought it on DVD. It's on Netflix right now, D. Woodward. So it's on Netflix right now. So I'm not even going to spend money on it. The same thing I did with, what was it called again? That Tales from the Hood 2. I would have bought that DVD, but I heard so many bad things that I just went to Netflix and bought it, because when I looked at the Keith David in that Tales from the Hood 2, it looked just like Lucifer was supposed to look in Temptation of John Haynes. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to buy the movie, because Keith David inspired Lucifer from the Temptation of John Haynes. And he looked just like the way I would have designed the character if I was to make a John Haynes film. So I dodged a bullet by having Netflix. It's like Netflix, you have $7, $8 a month. You can watch these movies and not have to have them in your house, because one of the worst things you could ever have is to have a bunch of DVDs in your house and you only watch them once. That's just something that you just don't want to have. But I look at Ava DuVernay, and she derailed Black fantasy from really building momentum, because I think with the success of Black Panther, there would have been no excuse for the white studios to start doing Black fantasy and Black science fiction, because when you look at Black fantasy and science fiction, there clearly is an audience for it. We look at the success of Black Panther, we look at the success of Luke Cage, and it's clear that not only can we make great Black fantasy and science fiction in film and TV, but we can make it where it makes us presented in a positive light. So I look at that, and again, Ava DuVernay set Black folks back with that whole Wrinkle in Time minstrel show that she produced. And Regina King also, you know, set Black folks back, talking about 50% women, but not saying Black women. Because again, opportunity, you would think another Black person will be out to give other Black people opportunities and be one, but I guess I'm in the rare group with that, because again, when I think about going out here for Black fantasy and science fiction and even Black films, I'm thinking Black first, because whenever I do stories, I think Black first, because I want to be able to give opportunities to a lot of at least underrated and underappreciated Black talents, whether they be Black actors, whether they be Black writers, whether they be, you know, Black special effects people, because that's another thing we don't talk about is all the Black special effects people out here. Yeah, Josh, I talked about the R. Kelly a while back, but I was talking about it changed into the topic about Black opportunities, because again, Regina Kelly, or what's her name, Regina King, I get it mixed up, but she just didn't really represent Black folks. She got her Golden Globe and talked this feminist stuff, not understanding Black feminists are not Black feminists, white feminists aren't for Black women, and they're not about giving opportunities to Black women. Because when I look at Hollywood overall, I don't see the opportunities coming for the sisters out here overall. And you sitting there talking about 50% women, when again, these white women have been doing well for years, and they've been doing okay for years. Oh, a dude's thoughts. If Ava had gotten a hold of Black Panther, it would have been a disaster, because she just has fallen completely apart as related to her craft. When I look at her recent Wrinkle in Time, and I look at our other stuff compared to I Will Follow, she has fallen completely off as a filmmaker. I mean, her ability to frame shots and motivate actors has fallen completely off. If you watch I Will Follow from 2009, you will see a completely different Ava DuVernay compared to the Ava DuVernay of today. Yeah, the Wachowskis did steal the script for The Matrix, I believe, from the Black woman, because Matrix was really written by a Black woman. Yeah, I did talk about the Telecommunications Act of 1996, and that law is a complete disaster. It's the reason why media today on TV networks is completely unwatchable, and it's the reason why we don't have a lot of innovation or competition as related to entertainment, because thanks to Bill Clinton and the Republican Congress passing the Telecommunications Bill of 96, where they talked about they're deregulating things so that one person couldn't own more than one television station, one radio station, and one newspaper. We now have the Big Six media, and because we have a Big Six media, we don't have a lot of competition in media, so we don't have people competing for the audience. But what happened, what was really bad with it, was all those people that they were trying to consolidate the media to get control over migrated over to the internet. And now that they've migrated over to the internet, we have the legacy media, TV, radio, and magazines, still trying to maintain control over people, but they're not maintaining control because people, again, they're going to go where there's competition, because when you compete, you have an incentive to do better. And most networks today, again, they have no incentive to do better. And we can see that based on these runs for TV shows. I mean, Big Bang Theory had 10 years on the air. NCIS is going on 15 years. And some of the spinoffs are 15 years. Law and Order has gone 20 years. I remember when I was a kid back in the 80s, TV show usually had 5 to 7 years. And that was because they wanted to get those slots back open. They want to get those slots back open so they could get those slots back open so they could put new content on so they could get better ratings. And the reason why they did that, again, is because they wanted to make money. Because if a slot stays with a show for too long, then they can't get new advertisers and ad revenue. So they want to turn those slots over very quickly as related to, Dark Silk Crease. I remember Mario Van Peebles. He made some great films. Some of my favorites is New Jack City and Posse. He did a very good job on both of those films. And his father, Melvin Van Peebles, literally opened the door for black films with Sweetback, and he couldn't have done that without the help of Bill Cosby. But when it relates to the Telecommunications Bill of '96, that bill did a lot of damage to media overall, because these shows would turn over a lot faster. And when they turn over faster, again, what that does is it gives people incentive to be creative. It gives people incentive to do better. And it makes people go out here and be more inspired to go out here and do things that are different. But when you have a consolidated media, a lot of these companies, what they do is they get comfortable. They say the show is doing well, so they keep the show on because it's presenting them with a advertising revenue, and they're making money on the show. So they have no incentive to go out here and make better things. Oh, I remember Sunny Spoon from back in the day. Daryl, Phil, Eiffel. I remember that show. Came on briefly in 1987 on NBC. That was Mario Van Peebles' television series where he was a private eye. I remember that series back then, and it only lasted like I think about half a season. But it was a really good series, and it came out during that era of Cosby, and that was like the golden age of black media, because we had the Cosby Show, which opened the door, and it opened the door for so many different shows. And Sunny Spoon was one of the unappreciated gems, like A Man Called Hawk. And that was another show that you really have to really get a look at. I remember when I was in high school, I remember A Man Called Hawk. A lot of people, they thought about Spencer for Hire, but Hawk was like the underrated show. It only ran a season, but if you can see an episode, I managed to get to see an episode on YouTube about in '09, and that was a great series, but it just never really got the momentum, because back then a lot of people, they took it for granted that there were so many black shows on the air at the time, because this was like it was like a golden age from about 84 to about 94 before the, I would say not 94, but 91 or so, because that's when the Hood movies came in, and the Hood movies are what really derailed a lot of the momentum of that golden age of cinema and TV shows. And that was a golden age. We had the Cosby Show in '84, then we had A Different World in '88, and then we had Family Matters, and then we had movies from Spike Lee and other shows in between, like Sunny Spoon. And then we had other shows like A Man Called Hawk, and then we had House Party, and so many great Spike Lee movies. I mean, it was like, again, you saw so many positive images of black people in that era, and it was on like almost every day on television. And it was one of those great times. It was a dark period with the crack epidemic, but you always saw positive images of black people. Yeah, he was great on A Man Called Hawk before Deep Space Nine. I mean, Hawk was the stuff. I mean, it came on, I think Saturday nights it came on ABC, I remember. But that was an underrated classic show. And I think you can find them on YouTube somewhere, because I found one back in about '08, '09, a couple of episodes. But it's a show you really should check out. I mean, Hawk is a strong, masculine black man, strong, intelligent black man, and really does a job of telling a story about black culture. Yeah, Robert Townsend has also done a lot for black movies. I remember it's not that he stopped, because he still was making films. It's just that his films just can't get distribution, because Robert Townsend, when he made Hollywood Shuffle, back in about '86 or '87, he did that on his own credit cards, and he financed it himself. So he made his own movies, and he's always used to making his own stuff. But the problem is he can't get distribution. I remember he was the guy who opened the door not only for himself, but also for Keenan Ivory Wayans and the Wayans family. And he opened the door for a lot of people with Hollywood Shuffle. I have Hollywood Shuffle on DVD. And it was one of the movies that really inspired me to go out here and create positive stories when I got older. When I watched Hollywood Shuffle, it just on VHS, my brother brought it to me from a rental back then. And it was one of those movies that really made me think about the image of Black people and the images of Black culture. But that was an underrated film overall. And he created, he just doesn't get, Robert Townsend just doesn't get opportunities. I remember when he did 5 Heartbeats with the Wayans, and he did Meteor Man, and he was trying to do superhero movies. But Meteor Man, it's like one of the problems with that film. It was a good film, but the problem was he was trying to follow the Adam West model during an era where people were following the Batman '89 Tim Burton thing. And the film was a little too campy, but that was why the film didn't perform as well as expected. But he made some good stuff. And 5 Heartbeats is a masterpiece of a film. I mean, you really have to go see that one. It's a really great film. It's one I need to go and get on DVD because Robert Townsend doesn't get the respect he deserves. But he's been making films for a while. I mean, after Parenthood, he made some films, and they wound up in direct-to-video, because if you go to IMDb and you type in Robert Townsend, you'll find that he's still been making movies for a good minute, but just that he just can't get the distribution. This happens to a lot of Black filmmakers out here. They just can't get the distribution that they need to get their films to the theater. And back in the 80s, it was easy to get a little bit of the distribution because we had Cosby open that door, and that's something people don't appreciate, is the door Bill Cosby opened for so many Black people by creating the Cosby Show, because the Cosby Show literally, again, created the golden age for Black media, and that Black media went on until, I believe, your John Singleton rolled up here with Boys in the Hood and ushered in the gangster period. When John Singleton came in here with Boys in the Hood, that knocked off a lot of the momentum for Black cinema and literally started the end of the golden age, because we went from this golden age where we saw all these diverse images of Black people in different types of Black stories to this whole thug and gangster thing that went on for a while. Yeah, that's true. But that's what we're seeing. That's what we saw in the 80s. I mean, in the 80s, we saw all sorts of stuff. I mean, and that's what made it like a golden age. Now, it wasn't New Jack City, because with New Jack City, Mario Van Peebles was actually making a commentary. And this is what people don't understand. New Jack City. Mario Van Peebles was making a commentary about the crack epidemic of the 1980s. And the film was not a hood movie. It was a social commentary on it was on the Black community at the time, and he was talking about how this crack was like killing ourselves. So he was talking about how the crack epidemic was something that was destroying the Black community and how it was like killing your own brother. And this is something people don't get about New Jack City. They get caught up in the glamour of Nino Brown, but they don't see the overall story. Now, I've watched New Jack City about 3-4 times, and I started to really understand it after about the second time, that it really wasn't about the getting the drug dealer. He was talking about the overall Black community being terrorized and oppressed by its own people. And that's something people don't get about New Jack City. New Jack City really was about how we were killing ourselves. So that's what that film was all about. And that's why I call it one of Mario Van Peebles' best films, right next to Posse. And I saw what he was trying to do with Posse. He was talking about Black Western, because when it comes down to the image of Black people in the West, that we don't get to see that story told. So I look at that film and it's like, he did a great job on that one, but a lot of people don't appreciate what Mario Van Peebles was trying to do with either New Jack City or Posse. But I could see what he was trying to do. And Chris, I went into the McDonald's fight in about when I first started the stream, and I also talked about it in a video. So guess you're gonna have to wait until you can watch one of the videos with that that one because I already discussed that already, and I discussed that before. So I'm talking about New Jack City right now. And again, that's another movie you really need to go out and see. And that's, again, something you really, really need to go see is New Jack City, because Mario Van Peebles does a great job on films. And yeah, we did have a lot more film studios back in the day, but we also had distributors and we also had theaters out there at Dude's Thoughts. We had a lot of theaters out there, and we had a lot of distribution, because that was one of the key things of getting films to the marketplace is distribution, and we don't really have the distribution like we used to get films to theaters, thanks to the Telecommunications Bill of '96. Thanks to the Telecommunications Bill of '96, we only have a handful of major theaters, but back then in the 80s and the 90s, you had a lot of independent theaters and a lot of independently owned theater franchises. And I remember a lot of those here in New Jack City. I think came out in 1990 or 89 or 91. I don't know. No, not 89, but I remember I was in high school. But there's those small theaters like the Kent here that used to be in the Bronx. There was Valentine that was on Valentine Triplex on Fordham Road. We had a lot of small theaters here in the Bronx, and they would run a lot of the smaller movies. I remember going to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Warlock at the Kent, and that was on 167th Street, not too far from the train station. And I lived like walking down the block from the Kent. So those type of theaters, you could go see a lot of black movies and a lot of movies that you couldn't see at the big theaters, but we don't have those anymore. So I look at that, and that's one of the reasons why it's hard to get black films out there, because we have Big Six Media, and a lot of them own the studios and the theaters, and they prevent stuff from being able to get to the marketplace. So it's hard for a small indie filmmaker to get into a theater now that they could get in back in the 80s. Back in the 80s, you had so many small theaters, and if a small theater sold out, then they would pick it up for bigger distribution. But we don't really have that now, thanks to the Big Six Telecommunications Bill of '96. I mean, I see options with that with Netflix, because Netflix will allow you to get a chance to get seen, but the whole thing is you can't really make the box office that was used to. Yeah, Black Uru, thank you for the donation on the super chat. The irony of New Jack City was that they distracted from the message of the film. People saw the swag, and that's what got people messed up about New Jack City. I remember, again, with New Jack City, a lot of the guys, they got caught up in the swag, but that was the dope game back in the 80s. A lot of the dope dealers, these were the guys, again, they were wearing the Bally shoes or the Troop jackets or the Timberland boots and the shearling coats, and they were driving around in the Jeeps. And that was the way those guys dressed and acted. I mean, I was there, again, going to school with these guys, and this is how they dressed and acted. And a lot of people, again, they got caught up in the swagger of those guys and the way that they looked, but that was the way those guys lived in the dope game. If you were there in the 80s, you knew what that was. You knew who the dope guys were, because, again, they were the guys driving around 17 years old with a $30,000 Mercedes 300E, wearing Troop jackets and Timberlands, or going out here and they were dressed to the nines, and they had the girls on their side, high school girls on their side as their girlfriend. So that was what they got in that time. And Rachel Truth, thank you for the donation. Yeah, but that's what's part of the film. That was what those films were showing you. They were showing you an accurate picture of that time, and that's what we saw. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, Troop jackets. Yeah, I talked about those in Spellbound as well. Lady Sia, yeah, the Troop jackets. You have to go Google an image of those. They were multicolored, and I think they had the name MAD, Master Action Design, on the back, and usually guys wore them with a pair of baggy acid wash jeans and Air Jordan sneakers. And that's how the dope boys used to dress back in the day. Longboard to Habit asked me if LL Cool J got street cred or sellout. I don't think LL Cool J is a sellout. I think he's evolved over time, and he's become a very different person because he was a guy, he didn't even finish high school when he was rapping back in the early 80s. And that yeah, he came up and then he just got into acting, and he just evolved. He evolved, and that's what happened to him. I don't think he sold out. He just evolved and changed, and that's what happens to people when they come up. And yeah, that's what we used to wear in the 80s, Christopher Clipper. We used to wear, yeah, acid wash, Guess jeans, Levi's, troop jackets, triple fat goose. Yeah, that's taken me back to high school. That's how we used to dress. That's how we used to dress back in the day. And then the dope boys, they always had the leather jackets again, $300-400 leather jackets, and they wore those Levi's jeans, and they would sag. That's when they started sagging, because I was in a class with a couple of dudes who was doing the sagging, and that's where we started to really see it. Cross colors was more 91, more 1990. I remember when I was in college, guys wore cross colors, but late 80s, that was again, troop jackets. That was Timberland Chukkas, Air Jordans, acid wash jeans. That was the gear we wore back then. And the 2-finger rings. I knew a couple cats with 2-finger rings, and the 3-finger rings, and the bamboo earrings. Yeah, you got to respect LL Cool J because he has evolved. He's been in the game 40 years, and he has a Kennedy Center honor. So that shows how much of a legend he is. He's just come so far. That's why I say he cannot be a sellout at all. Benny, I'm going to do a whole goth live stream. That's what I'm planning to do in a couple weeks. I want to do a whole Black Goth live stream, and I want to try to do that just as one whole topic. Same thing with a couple of sci-fi and fantasy topics, but this was just supposed to be an inaugural one. Some people are saying that I should do these live streams at night, but I have other things to do at night. I want to try to, because I have a John Haynes book I'm working on right now, and I want to really focus on finishing that. So I'm not going to have the time to do it at night, because that's what I'm working on for the next couple of nights, is I'm trying to get back on track, because I started this John Haynes book, The Man with Nothing to Lose. And this story, I started it as when I was in my old apartment. I did about 4 or 5 chapters of it. And after the move, when I was moving, I had to stop. And I'm just finally getting back to it. So I may or may not do a nighttime live stream. It just depends. But the whole thing is I just don't have the time to do a nighttime live stream right now. So I'm going to try to just do daytime live streams. Thank you, Ted. I like making these videos, and I like making live streams. And it's an expansion of things. That's what I'm doing with the live stream now. I'm just want to try to expand things. I know I'm a little rambly today, but for future live streams, I'm hoping to be a bit more focused in the way I talk and staying on subject. But for this one, I just wanted to just let everybody know that I heard everything that you guys were saying regarding live streams, and this was me letting you know that I'm getting ready to go and do them, because today I would have just did 2 videos today and just uploaded them. But instead, I just decided to do a test live stream to see how things were going to go for future live streams. So that's, oh, Benny, you have 1 quarter finished with Man Crisis? Great. Thanks. I wrote that's another book I wrote called The Man Crisis. And in that book, I talk about the issues that men are going through today. And it's one of those, it's a great book, and I urge you to go get it, because I saw so many men dealing with so many problems, and I wanted men to understand what they could do in this man crisis and learn about the man crisis, because I heard about so many men committing suicide, so many men having drug problems, so many men having mental health issues, and we have a man crisis going on in this country, and no one wants to talk about the man crisis going on. I could do streams on the weekends, but it just depends on my schedule, because again, I do have I do have a lot of stuff. I do a lot of different things. I have a lot of different things to do because I'm just moved in about just a month ago, and I haven't even finished unpacking everything. So that I haven't even finished unpacking. I have a lot of stuff I still have to finish unpacking, and I'm still trying to get acclimated to things. So, oh, thank you, Lady Sia, for buying Isis Imitation of Life. That book desperately needs a lot more support. I mean, that was a book that I wrote talking about not only the golden age of comics and how Black people were heroes during that golden age, but it was a book where I show how Black people were heroes during Jim Crow. And this is a book that I published back in November, and it really didn't get any sales. And this is a book, again, I believe everybody really needs to read. Isis Imitation of Life was a part of Fantasy Flashback Fall, along with the other book, Esteem, The Sands of Time. And in both of them, I wanted to show how Black people were heroes during periods in history, and also how these characters in the SJS Direct universe were heroes in their past. So with both of those books, I gave you an insight into Isis's past in the days of Jim Crow and Esteem's past in ancient Egypt. And we got a little clip of what John Haynes' life was like back when he was in high school in the 1980s. So with those fantasy flashback stories, I wanted to give you a look into the character's past. They're sort of like the annuals for DC Comics Elseworlds. And, well, thank you, Mr. S. I think this live stream is pretty much a hit, too, because it looks like it's fairly solid. But Fantasy Flashback Fall books, they came out in November. And Esteem, The Sands of Time did okay, but Isis Imitation of Life desperately needs a lot of support. It's one of those stories that I got a lot of positive feedback on from the beta readers before I published it this year. And it was a book that people really liked because they said that they liked the way I presented at Black history and showed you how Black people were heroes during Jim Crow, because that was something I wanted people to see, that we couldn't have we weren't superheroes like Superman and Batman. We still had heroes in our community, and those heroes, they did their work underground like Isis did. Things like helping kids learn the value of being Black, creating organizations like Isis did with the Thetas, a Black sorority dedicated towards helping Black girls develop self-esteem and self-worth, and having connections that help Black girls find jobs that were not maids, because back in Jim Crow, there were very few opportunities for Black people to get jobs that allowed them to use the degrees they had, because there were a lot of Black folks who had degrees but could not get jobs anywhere. So, and that was in the South and in the North, because a lot of people didn't understand. Yes, we had Jim Crow in the South, but we also had racism in the North. And that was one of the reasons why we had Black-owned businesses. And with Isis, she was trying to help Black people get jobs at Black-owned businesses so they could build their community. And that was something that she worked on. So that was something that she wanted to do, that she did. And with Esteem, The Sands of Time, I wanted to show you a princess story, but with the Esteem character, because the Esteem character is a princess. She was the princess of the destroyed nation of Keisha, and she was an adopted daughter of Osiris, and she was a princess. So I wanted to create a princess story like the Disney princess stories, because when I look at Princess and the Frog, that movie really, I was not a fan of that movie, because one, you had a Black princess who really wasn't from a royal bloodline, and two, you had a Black princess, but she was with a non-Black man. But with Sands of Time, I show you a Black princess, and I show you a Black princess with a Black man. So that was something that was important for me with Sands of Time. And with both stories, I wanted to show you again how Black people were a part of history, because with Sands of Time, I wrote that with as I imagined it, with an all-Black cast. I imagined Sally Richardson as Esteem, Samuel L. Jackson as Osiris, Angela Bassett as Isis, because this is way before the mythology of the legend of Isis, Osiris, and Seth. And it was an all-black cast. I imagined it with an all-black cast, and that's something I wanted to do for that story. So with this story, I wanted to give you a story that was on the same level as Disney princesses and the same action and adventure, because that was another thing with Princess and the Frog. They don't really give you good action and adventure, but with this one, I wanted to give you good action and adventure. Also, imagine Jada Pinkett as Decadia, the villain of the piece. So again, I wanted an all-black cast for this one, and I wanted to make it a story where we saw black people in a positive light. Same thing with Isis Imitation of Life. While I was doing the story talking about Jim Crow, I also wanted to show you the positive experiences of black people, because when it comes down to the whole Jim Crow period, what they want to do is show you black people being lynched by Klansmen. They want to show you black people being beaten up by racists, but they don't want to show you the other side of things, which is black folks being out here and achieving and accomplishing in spite of the racism of Jim Crow in the South and discrimination in the North. They don't want to show you the dozens, not dozens, hundreds of black professionals, hundreds of educated black people who opened and created black-owned businesses. And they don't want to show you that period of black achievement and black accomplishment. And I wanted to show you that black achievement and black accomplishment during the Golden Age, because in that period, we had a lot of people out here who were out here doing what they needed to do. So that was one of those things that I wanted to show with Isis Imitation of Life. I just wish that book had done a lot better. I wish it had done as well as John Haynes' A Conversation with Death, because John Haynes' A Conversation with Death, that book did very well. I mean, that's again one of the reasons why I want to get Mike Williams to do another cover if he was healthy enough. I would have loved to have him do the Dark Succubus cover. And that's one of the things that I wanted to see done, but I don't know. His health just depends on his health issues. If he's better, I might be able to get him, but I'm looking. If not, I might have to get someone else. I'm still working on getting the concept for that book, but the way A Conversation with Death did, that has me really motivated to try to, push to get Dark Succubus out, because that's the book that's supposed to come out for 2019 for John Haynes. Now, the 3 books that I have planned for this year are the Isis All That Glitters, Esteemed Goddess of, ? And John Haynes' Dark Succubus. Those are the 3 books I have planned for the 2019 SJS Direct catalog. And I have All That Glitters up on pre-order for Kindle, but the other 2, and it's going to be released officially in March, and I want to have the other 2 out soon. Esteemed Goddess of and All That Glitters, Bill Walker already designed the covers for them, and they're on my Instagram. They're also on my Facebook and on my blog. And there's some sample chapters of both of those books up there. But John Haynes' Dark Succubus, I have a sample chapter up on the blog, but I haven't come up with a cover concept just yet. That's the book that that's the second book in the John Haynes series, and it's one that I'm really excited to get out to you, because that was one of the great things about 2019. Excuse me, I have sinuses. I was able to get almost all the covers for 2018 to be all professionally done, and that was with your support and your help. It wasn't for your donations on the Patreon and PayPal, I wouldn't have had the funds to go out here and put those professional covers up there. So that's something that I really thank everybody for, that I was able to put professional covers on those books. And I was also able to get Imitation of Life to finally get the professional cover from Drew Swift, who did an amazing job. Now, Drew was a young, new artist, new black artist who was coming up, and I liked his work so much that I went and got it for Isis Imitation of Life. And he did an amazing job on the cover for Isis Imitation of Life. And that story is a great story, and I just wish that it got more readers than it has, because right now it's gotten people, they're reading it on Kindle Unlimited because it's free on Kindle Unlimited, but no one really bought it on Kindle or on paperback except for the young sister who bought it. And it's a great story, and I really wish it could get more readers. But with publishing, everything sometimes it works like that, and it's I don't know if I'll be on a Dude's Thoughts back, because I might get ready to leave about about 2 o'clock or so, or 1:30. But the live stream this was just a test, and but I really wanted to see Imitation of Life do a bit better, because Fantasy Flashback Fall was designed again to be something where you could see the characters' histories, and it was also designed to give you some fun stories. And Sands of Time again was to be that Disney princess story, whereas Imitation of Life was meant to give you that look into Black history. So with both stories, I wanted to give you something that gave you a positive look at Black people in the past, and gave you a fun look at Black people, and see a positive picture of Black people in history. So that's something I really wanted to go out here and make with the Fantasy Flashback Fall. So I've got some great stuff planned for 2019. Again, I'm hoping to get these Isis and All That Glitters and East-Team Goddess out around March and April. And then I'm still working on pondering the date for the Isis graphic novel Indiegogo. I've pondered launching it around the same week of Captain Marvel, because I thought that with the Captain Marvel movie, a lot of people, especially in the comic book community, they've been complaining that Captain Marvel is not the type of heroine they want to see. So with Isis, I wanted to, because this is an old school superhero bank robber story, and it features a strong heroine, the way the manga and anime characters are. So with this story, I thought maybe you could launch it as a counter to the oh, thank you, Ava. Well, I try to make the conversation open to everyone. I try to talk about different topics, because I'm here to give you guys what you asked for. You guys wanted streams, so I guess I'd give you streams. Melvin Wacko, yeah, I have seen the entire 1970s Secrets of Isis TV show with Joanna Cameron. I remember back in 2000 doing research on the Joanna Cameron show to make sure that my Isis character was not like their Isis character. And I watched almost all 22 episodes of the Secrets of Isis on YouTube. You can find those episodes on YouTube. And one of the reasons why Isis's alias in the Golden Age is Andrea Thomas Robinson is a homage to Joanna Cameron's character of Isis that she portrayed on The Secrets of Isis. So the character's name is Andrea Thomas Robinson as a homage to The Secrets of Isis. That's one of the reasons why I named her Golden Age alias that. Now, again, with the Captain Marvel, that's one of the reasons why I want to launch the Isis Indiegogo around that period. That's what I'm pondering, but nothing is set in stone. I want to launch it then because, again, everybody sits there and says Captain Marvel is one of the worst characters as related to heroines, and I'm going to be trying to produce a comic that gives people what they want in a heroine, and that's something I want to do with the Isis Indiegogo, is give you a fun, feminine heroine who goes out here and is featured in a story that features a story model that is written to give you action and adventure, but gives you action and adventure that people want to see a heroine in. And with Isis All That Glitters, I really want to go out here and give you that fun type of comic. Bill Walko has done an amazing job on the cover, and I believe he's going to do an equally amazing job on the interiors if I can get the project funded, because his art is very bright, bold, and dynamic. And this is something that I want to see get done, because I believe we both can come together to make a fun comic. And this is the type of comic I want to do, and I want to go out here and do this, but I can't do it without everybody's help on the Indiegogo. That's one of those things that I want to see get done with this Indiegogo, because a lot of people say that they don't like heroines like your Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, your Squirrel Girl, and your Captain Marvel. But when it comes down to ISIS, I get a lot of positive feedback. I mean, a lot of guys who were Comicsgate, when they read the script for ISIS All That Glitters on my blog, they loved that script. And a lot of people who were casual comic fans and casual readers, they love that script. So that's one of the reasons why I want to go out here and do this Indiegogo for the ISIS graphic novel, so that we can go out here and say to all those people who say, oh, we want this Captain Marvel, okay, or we hate this type of Captain Marvel story, here's a story featuring a heroine who has similar powers to Captain Marvel, and it's featured in a similar action and adventure sequence, and this is a model of what we want. So that's what I want to do with this ISIS graphic novel. So that's what the plan is, and that's why I'm pondering launching it around the same time that the Captain Marvel movie is released. I want to release it then, because then you have an alternative to the Captain Marvel everybody complains about. Because to me, people complain about Captain Marvel, but then they need to go out here and support somebody who's providing you with an alternative that features what you want. And again, a lot of comic fans have been telling me that All That Glitters is a great story. And if we can get this story out here, then we can have an example to show your Marvel editors and your DC editors the type of heroine we want to see featured in comics. Because the story models I look at with Squirrel Girl, Unstoppable Wasp, and Ms. Marvel, they're just too dumbed down. They talk down to the viewer. They treat the reader like he's an idiot or she's an idiot, and they make it look like girls are incredibly stupid. Now, if you compare your Squirrel Girl, your Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, and your Captain Marvel to an ISIS story, you see a completely different story, which plays to the strengths of women, but also gives you an action-adventure story that is entertaining as well. So that's something that I want to do as related to that graphic novel. So I want to go out here and do that this year. That's my big goal for this year, and it's something I really want to push for. So it looks like I'll stay another 15 minutes on this stream, but I'm looking like I'm going to stay another 15 minutes or so on the stream. But but the whole thing is that this graphic novel, again, is our opportunity to really make a statement to all of these so-called SJWs out there that this is the model that we want for a heroine. This is the type of story we want for a heroine. And this is the type of action we want to see. Now, you can take a look at the script for ISIS All That Glitters by going to my blog, Sean James Black Freelance Writer. I'm going to try to see if I put the link in. Let me see. It's just going to take a minute. Hold on one second. Okay, here's the. Okay, I'm dropping a link in the chat box so you can take a look at the script. And I'm going to head over to and I'm going to leave a link to the pre-order for the Kindle so that if you want to pre-order it, you can pre-order it. The book is going to come out March 25th in Kindle and in paperback. And that's where I'm going to start the SJS Direct 2019 book schedule. So I'm going to start the book schedule in 2019 for the SJS Direct catalog then. And I'm hoping to get the Indiegogo up either before then or around then. So that's what my overall plans are. I'm looking forward to seeing Aquaman. I don't know if I want to see it in the theater or if I want to see Aquaman wait for video. But when I looked at the trailer for Aquaman, it looked very good. I'll say that much about Aquaman. Aquaman looked very, very good. So I might have to go take a look at that. So that's a film that I have to, because DC looks like it's starting to get itself together, and Marvel Studios has been very, very comfortable as of late. And they really need some stiff competition to get their act together. So I may just take a day off and go to the theater to go see Aquaman and then do a review. But it just depends on how things work here, because I really want to try to finish getting situated to this new apartment and this whole new setting. What you see right here with the two pictures, this is going to change soon, because I've got to try to get I got my action figures in boxes, and I'm supposed to put them on display, but I've been so busy trying to build the channel, so I haven't had time to go out here and put the action figures on display. But that's going to be coming one day soon. The whole thing is, everything is in a state of flux. I still have stuff in boxes. Again, I have to finish unpacking, and that's what I'm going to be trying to do in between making videos, working on this new John Haynes book, The Man with Nothing to Lose, and trying to just finish putting all my action figures back where they were supposed to be. I mean, Aquaman, yeah, DC has been getting it together. D's Nuts 27, they've been getting it a lot better. I mean, Aquaman, the trailer looked very solid, and Shazam looks very solid too. I'm thinking that DC is starting to build a little momentum after falling apart early in the gate. And I think them getting rid of Zack Snyder was like the best thing they ever did overall. I mean, Zack Snyder, really, he put an anchor on the DC cinematic universe, and they really were held back thanks to his dark and dreary vision. And now that they're pulling away from that vision, it looks like they're starting to build some really nice momentum. And I saw that with Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman. She did an amazing job on that film. And the only thing that held her back, really, was being tied to Zack Snyder's dark, dreary vision and Zack Snyder's designs, because that's what really held back DC overall. I believe if they can get away from Zack Snyder, they can really go out here and really put together some really great films. I believe that if they can just pull off Zack Snyder's anchor, they could really move it forward. No, Tyler. This is the camera angle I use for now, because this is the one that works for me. The camera was a bit higher because I had a ledge on my window, because I was shooting from a ledge on my window in my old apartment. But in this new apartment, the ledge is very small, and the ledge is next to a radiator, and the radiator is on, so I can't really put anything in the window here. It's a very different setup, so that's why I have the laptop on my bed right now. Yeah, I live in New York City. I live in the Bronx, Christopher. I live in New York. But my old neighborhood, the apartment was completely different, had a completely different setup. And this window is very different from my old window, because in this complex, the Parkchester complex, it's a very different design. So that's why this camera is sitting here. I put the camera here so that, okay, we got another troll coming in, but it's a completely different setup. So I can't really put the camera up high because the camera's inside the computer. It's just completely different. Okay, we have another troll. So Yeah, I'm getting ready to block him. He's been blocked. But in New York, it's like this apartment is very different. So I don't have the same ledge, but it's not the same. So what's up, Simply Deep 85? But that's why the camera is like this. Again, this setup right here, it's going to change. As you can see, it's just the bookcase. And what's behind here on the bookcase right now are the paperbacks I just bought again to test things. This is the Esteem Goddess of. I like this one because Esteem looks a lot like Sally Richardson, the woman who inspired Esteem, the actress who inspired her. And then you have Isis All That Glitters, the paperback test copy that I bought to proof things out. And this looks really great. I love the job Bill did on this. It looks just like what I had imagined. And this is the Isis Imitation of Life cover from Drew Swift, and I wanted to check that out too. And this is a great cover Drew did for the Imitation of Life. He took my concept idea and made it 10 times better. And this is Spinsterella, bought with the cut-over art designed by Run.exe. This is a digital piece of art he did because he liked Matilda Crowley so much. And he told me to do whatever I wanted with it. And he didn't, and I just decided to put it on the cover because so many black girls want to know about the goth scene, and I wanted to give them a positive image of what it meant to be black in the goth subculture. So that's one of the reasons why I put his art on the cover, because we don't get to see many black images of goths in the subculture. So I thought it would be important to put it on there. Now, the fifth book I bought was The Man Crisis, and this is the paperback edition of The Man Crisis. And I like the way this looks. It's just very solid. But this is the book that talks about all the issues men have been suffering from in the last 3 decades, as they've suffered in silence about the problems they have, because a lot of men, they believe that there's no place for them, and that's why they're participating in self-destructive behavior. So that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, The Man Crisis, because so many people don't know how much men have been suffering over the last couple of years. Oh, the first book that I showed, yeah, that was a great cover. I mean, Bill Wacko did an amazing job on Esteem Goddess of. Took my designs for this story, and he made them 10 times better with this cover. I mean, it reminds me a lot of the comic covers of the 1970s, and he tells a great story on this cover. And this is Esteem versus Avarice, the Tormentor. This is going to be the villain for Esteem Goddess of, and this is the book that's going to be coming out this April in the Esteem series. This story takes place right after Esteem Ascension, and it showcases all of Esteem's new powers. So you definitely want to pick up this one, and you definitely want to pick up Isis All That Glitters. Both of these feature Bill Wacko's art, and this is the art I want to put in if I can get it funded. So this is what the art's going to look like inside of the comic if I can get it funded and be able to pay Bill Wacko to do the design work. What's on this cover is what you're going to see inside of the comic. So definitely want to get on that project. Melvin Wacko, yeah, I would love to see an entire Isis comic like that, and I would love to be able to get Bill on the Bill is on the project. He's down for the project. It's just about me getting the funding to get the project out there. So it's all about me being able to get the ability to pay Bill for the project, because comic art costs a lot of money. So if you're going to do comic art, if you want to do a comic book, it costs money because artists, they have to be paid. And I went over this in a video before when I itemized all the costs, and the costs again is you have to pay for the pencils and the inks. You also have to pay a colorist. So Bill's work, I want to hire a colorist to color his work. and I also have to pay for a letterer. And I've been talking to a letterer on Facebook about the project, and I'm in the process of looking for a colorist for the ISIS graphic novel. But again, the graphic novel is going to feature art from Bill Walko that looks just like this. So this is what a precursor to what an ISIS graphic novel is going to look like. This is what the art's going to look like inside of it. So that's one of those reasons why you really want to get on this ISIS Indiegogo in about a month or so, when I go out here and launch the ISIS graphic novel Indiegogo, because I want to give you a great comic. I want to give you an amazing comic, something that is all ages, reader friendly, and that you can give to your 5, 6, 7-year-old or your 8, your 9, 10-year-old, and can be read from anyone from ages 8 to 80. So that's something that I want to be able to give you guys out here. And it looks like we have another troll. I'm going to have to, get rid of this dude here, because I'm not going to have that type of stuff going on in my, what was it called again? Chat. I'm not going to have that type of stuff in the chat. Yeah, Bruce is gone because I got rid of him, and I'm not going to have these type of guys. Yeah, Bill Walko's art is influenced by animation. It's influenced by guys like Bruce Timm, but it's also influenced by the animation of Saturday morning cartoons. So that was one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of Bill Walko's art, is that Bill Walko's, he grew up like I did. He grew up watching Saturday morning cartoons and reading comic books, and those were his inspirations and his influences. Sinuses. But those were his influences for his art style. And that was one of the things that drew me to his art style when I was reading his comic strip, The Hero Business, online. Now, he's had this Hero Business strip online for years. And what's going on, Tamaris? I'm all right. Thank you, Mr. S, for buying The Man Crisis on Kindle. But Bill's art is influenced by that. And one of the reasons, again, why I can work with Bill over the last 4 years, because these aren't just the first books that would feature his art. I've had his art on my books ever since about 2014 with ISIS Wrath of the Cyber Goddess, and I'm going to leave a link to that book in the chat so you can take a look at the first ISIS cover he did. But this was the first cover Bill did for ISIS. It doesn't look like the system is letting me do this. Okay, we got another. Doesn't look like I can put the link up to ISIS Wrath of the Cyber Goddess, but it's on Amazon, and that's the first cover that Bill did for the ISIS series, and he did a great job on that cover. And since then, Bill has done covers for ISIS series books like ISIS, Night of the Vampires, and the one for ISIS Bride of Dracula. They love the ISIS Bride of Dracula cover, and they love that book. So that one did very well. And he did the cover for Samurai Goddess, and he also did the cover for East-Team Undercover and East-Team Ascension, and he did the cover for ISIS Escape from Transylvania. So he did several covers over the last 4 years for the ISIS series. And I don't know about Spider-Verse. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to see that one. But so I'm not going to be able to see Spider-Verse, but because I've been, again, my schedule's really messed up. So I might go see Aquaman because I like what I saw, but I don't know about Spider-Verse. I might think about it. Depends on where I am. But with the ISIS series, I've hired Bill to do numerous covers for it. He's just done an amazing job. I love his art, and that's why I feature it all the time. So I always try to feature his work. And I also like the work of Mike Williams with The Conversation with Death. He did an amazing job on that cover. And that was, again, that comes out of my love for comic books. And that's why I always try to feature the work of comic artists on my covers. And I feature that art, again, as a tribute to the books that taught me how to read, and as a way to show respect to the artists in the medium of comic books. Because I believe one of the great ways you can show respect to a comic artist is not just by going out there to buy their comics, but if you're a publisher, to go out here and give this artist a job. Because when you give them a job, you are showing the greatest respect you can for a comic artist, because you're showing them that you value their work so much that you'll actually go out here and support them in their craft. And that's one of the reasons why I had Terry Beatty, the artist of the Phantom comic strip, Sunday news strip, and he also does Rex Morgan. He was the guy who designed the ISIS and E-Steam art you see right behind me. These were both done by Terry Beatty, the artist who does Ms. Tree. He was the co-creator of Ms. Tree with Max Allan Collins, and that was a detective series which features a strong heroine. It came out in the 80s. So that was the guy who that's who I got a commission from. I remember I saw him back in about 2012 or so, and he was doing commissions, and I said, I want to get one of his commissions because I liked his art. So that's the two pieces you see right behind me. Those are Terry Beatty's art right there, right behind me. So those are, I've always been a big supporter of the comic community. And if I see a great artist, I always try to find a way to support them. And the way I try to support them is to give them work, have their work featured on my covers, and have them featured so they can get the exposure and have a way to be able to pay their bills. And the other way I go out here and support comic artists is to try to treat them right by making sure that they get paid, because I've heard so many horror stories about comic artists out here, people trying to pay them a little bit here and a little bit there, or promise to pay them. I've heard just so many horror stories. And one of the things when I have a project is I try to make sure that I have the funds, ready for those artists so that they can just go to work and not worry about their money. So that's one of the things I try to do with my projects. Whenever I have a project, I don't go to the artist unless I have the money ready. And that's one of the reasons why. Okay, looks like we have another troll. I guess it's lunchtime and the trolls have nothing else to do. So they go to a black man's live stream looking to start drama. So you got to go boot somebody else. I guess they have nothing else to do. So they have nothing else to do, but all right, I got rid of him. I got rid of the Russian troll. So they have been blocked, and they are being flagged right now. So all that's been taken care of. So we're not going to have to worry about that troll again. And it's just sad. Here we are on the first live stream, and we've got a bunch of trolls, and they just want to come here and waste people's time. I mean, I could think of better things to do with my lunch hour than go out here and watch a live stream of somebody I don't like and content of someone I don't like, because I understand how precious time is. And that's what's sad and pathetic that they, yeah, funny ballet dancer. Yeah, I used 30-minute lunch because I used to have those back when I was working at Food Emporium. You only got 30 minutes for lunch. And that's what they have. And it's sad you're sitting there wasting your 30 minutes of time out of your life watching someone you don't like. But that's the codependent nature of a lot of these beta male trolls, and that they waste their time in their life that they're not going to get back watching people who they don't like. And that's just what makes them really sad and pathetic people, is that you're going to waste time out of your life watching a live stream of someone you don't like. I mean, my time is too precious to waste doing that. And yeah, I have heard of Animaniacs. I actually used to watch it back in the day, but when I was what was I? I was talking about the trolls and how they waste your time. They just waste time. And this is a sad and pathetic individual. He continues to come to a page he does not like, watching a live stream that he does not like. And I'm getting rid of them, and I had to flag him because he was using homophobic language, and maybe that'll get him kicked out. But again, sad, pathetic individual. I don't know. I don't believe in universal basic income, because as a kid who grew up on welfare, I know that all that does is make you dependent and lazy. So that's all universal basic income is going to do. It's not going to make people want to work. And it's just sad that and pathetic that these trolls just they don't. It's like you just create one account after another, and that's what's sad and pathetic about them. They make multiple accounts, and they just continue to come to channels that they don't like and waste their time and our time. And because it was my viewers who asked me to make a live stream for them, and these people, they want to suck the life out of something that's very positive, because people are enjoying this live stream. They are enjoying watching the live stream, and I'm enjoying interacting with everybody here in the live stream. And you have somebody here who just wants to come in and troll because they have no talent and they have no skills at socializing. So they want to come in here and live stream. And again, wasting my time, and it's not constructive. Not constructive at all. So I look at that, and again, it's just really sad. I'm sit there and you just want to watch. Oh man, Reg, that's messed up. Had 20 accounts. That's just sad. Oh, Supremo's here in the stream. This is awesome. But 20 accounts, that's just sad. I mean, I couldn't think to waste time like that. I mean, my time is too precious to waste going out here and what's my most anticipated for this movie for this year, Tyler? I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to Shazam, definitely. And I don't know about Avengers Endgame. After seeing that trailer, I'm not really eager to see that. I wasn't even eager to see Infinity War, but I'm eager to see Shazam. That's one I'm looking forward to. And that one looks like it's a lot of fun. It looks like good old-fashioned, old-school superhero fun. I think I got rid of Bruce Jackson, the troll. I don't know if I got rid of him. Excuse me. Oh yeah, they are, Melvin. They are inspired by the Hammer movies. Bride of Dracula was actually, the cover was inspired by the Hammer film, The Brides of Dracula. The nightgown that you see Isis wearing, that was inspired by the picture of Yvonne Monlar. I believe that's what her name is, because I watched Brides of Dracula, and that's where I got a lot of my inspiration for the image and the concept for it was the original film, The Brides of Dracula, from Hammer. And the Dracula is a mix of Bela Lugosi, the Christopher Lee Dracula, and the Gene Colan Dracula from The Tomb of Dracula. So that's where Bill really drew a lot of his concepts from. He drew it from my ideas from it, but then he put some other elements in there to make the Dracula very unique. So Bride of Dracula comes from Hammer horror primarily. So that's a movie you really need to go and see. I saw it twice on MeTV with Svengoolie, and it's just a fun movie. Brides of Dracula. It's a really fun action horror movie. So that's one you really need to go see. But that was one of the influences on me when I was doing the visuals for Isis Bride of Dracula. And that was one of the books that people love in the Isis series. They love Isis Bride of Dracula, and they loved Escape from Transylvania. They love the whole vampire arc, featuring Isis and John Haynes working together. And it's one of those books that everybody, every time they read it, they enjoy it. No, I haven't seen Bird Box yet. I've been so busy with the moves and stuff, I haven't really been able to see much. All I saw on Netflix last was Batman Unlimited cartoons, and that was the first day I came to this new apartment, but I didn't get to see much at all except for that. So I wasn't able to see much outside of those Batman Unlimited cartoons. So I'm hoping to go see Chilling Adventures of Sabrina soon and check out some other stuff so I can do some more reviews, because I like doing video reviews of stuff, because that's also part of the channel. Because again, I'm a comic fan, a sci-fi fan, a fantasy fan, and I'm a little bit behind in watching things. I'm definitely planning on doing a Punisher review, so that's going to be coming up in the next week, whenever it comes out. I'm going to be definitely reviewing the Punisher, and I'm definitely going to be giving my thoughts on the Punisher series. So you definitely got to look out for that. So I'm definitely going to be watching Punisher for sure. That's definite. You can definitely expect Punisher at all. Yeah, Black Avenger. I'm not going to be seeing Captain Marvel. I think I'm going to watch it only if it comes to Netflix, or if it comes to, well, the whole thing with the Yellow Vest movement in France is that there's nothing anybody can do about it. It's just a result of the violence there is just a result of too many years of policy that is leftist, and too many years of policy that prevents that oppresses people at the expense of things. I haven't seen Get Out yet, so I don't think I will see it, but because again, I'm really behind as it relates to media, because I'm so busy working on books most of the year and promoting books most of the year. So, it won't be on Netflix. Well, I guess I'll have to pay for, a live stream or something. I guess I'll catch it somewhere. I mean, somewhere, because usually with movies like Captain Marvel, they usually wind up on YouTube anyway in bits and pieces. But I'll catch it somewhere, because I'm not going to pay money to see it, because I don't want to send a message to Disney to continue making bad films like Captain Marvel, because that's what the comic fans did back in 2004. I remember in 2004 when we saw Halle Berry with the open-toe shoes in Catwoman, so many fans said, no, we're not going to see this. They sent a powerful message to the Warner Brothers that it wound up killing the movie. So when it comes down to Catwoman, they killed Catwoman. I remember being part of the people who were saying, you know, I didn't want to see Catwoman. I mean, I didn't mind Halle Berry playing Selena Kyle, but this whole Patience Phillips thing, that was a straw that broke the camel's back, especially after having to sit through Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, where they just took the Batman mythos and made a complete mockery out of them. And the only reason why they wanted to make that film was because they had already spent the money for pre-production, and they didn't really care about the story at all. That was one of the big problems with what many people call Catwoman in name only or see-no movie, is they just didn't like the fact that they were making a mockery of the source material. And they felt that if they continued to support this type of movie, it would encourage Warner Brothers to make more movies where they would make a complete mockery of the source material. So that's why people didn't want to go out here and support Catwoman. Now with Captain Marvel, I'm not going to support the movie because the movie is just terrible based on what I saw in the trailers. What I saw in the trailers was absolutely horrifically bad, and it just was not very good. So I don't want to encourage Marvel Studios to do superhero movies with heroines, because they can do much better. If I can go out here and write a really solid ISIS series story, like ISIS All Right for the Cyber Goddess or ISIS All About the Goddess, then why can't Marvel go out of its way to go out here and write a decent script or write a decent story featuring a heroine? I believe it's possible to go out here and make that type of movie, but sadly, people at Marvel, they want to do something and then expect you to spend money on it just because it has a Marvel label. I believe we can definitely do better than that, and we can get better than that. So that's why I'm not going to go see this Captain Marvel mess. I mean, that's just something I just have to pass on as a film. Now, well, it's getting near 2 o'clock, so I might stay for 10 more minutes on this live stream, and that might be it. I might just wrap it up at 2 o'clock. So the next live stream I'm definitely going to be doing is going to be comic related or fantasy related, and it might be coming next week. It depends on how things go. I really want to make these live streams once a week. You're welcome, Moshe. I'm glad to do the stream with you guys, and I'm glad to be here for you guys, because you guys asked me to do a live stream, and I wanted to, and I've been promising to do one. And this is me keeping my word to my viewers, because it's just my way of showing respect to all my viewers out here for supporting me all over for the last couple of years and staying with me all these years. So that's why I went out to do the live stream today, just as a test. You other live streams in the future. I definitely have some great topics that I want to discuss. I'm definitely going to do that goth live stream, and I really hope that a lot of the goth YouTubers come in for that one, because that's one I really want to do, is the Black Goth live stream. And I'm hoping that because I have a lot of goth viewers that they're like, you don't see them, but they are there, and they have been there with me ever since I've been reaching out to them, and that's one I really want to do. They were the ones who really came out in force to support Spinsterella and Spellbound, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, along with the brothers out here. And I really want to do that live stream because a lot of black girls have been asking about the goth subculture. They have been asking on different channels like Angela Benedict's channel and Orphea333. And I really want to give them a platform where they can learn about the subculture. And I also want to do some more ones about the comic book community. And I appreciate doing it too, Ballet Dancer NJ. I really like doing the live streams. I want to do one about comics, and I also want to do a launch stream for the ISIS graphic novel Indiegogo. So those are some of the topics I want to touch on in upcoming live streams. I also want to do more live streams with books. I may even do a reading on a live stream. I don't know how that's going to go, but excuse me, these sinuses, but that's something I want to do, is a live reading. But I've got some great topics I want to do, and that's something I really have planned in the future. And I'm hoping that everybody comes out for those live streams, because again, I like these live streams. It looks like we're having a lot of fun. Oh, Black Avenger, yeah. I think I know how they're going to incorporate Captain Marvel. She's going to be the one who saves Iron Man in Avengers Endgame. That's what I think is going to happen, and I think she's going to be Captain Mary Sue, who comes in and saves everything. But I look at that movie, Avengers Endgame, it looks like a complete wreck of a movie. Because when I heard about time travel, that was a red flag for me, because when I look at Infinity War and I look at Endgame, it looks like it's trying to rip off the Star Trek finale, All Good Things, and it looks like it's not really doing it as well. So Jessica Simpson is Wonder Woman. No. Well, they say that Jude Law is supposed to be Yon-Rogg, but we know that he's Mar-Vell. But that's what they said. But I have some plans for some live streams. A lot of them are going to be related to comic books and the comic book industry. And I may do some ones like the some more Black-oriented ones, but it just depends on what I want to do as related to topics. But you definitely are going to get one about the Black Goth subculture. That's one that's definitely going to be on the schedule. There's going to be one about Black fantasy and science fiction. And there will be, again, a launch one for the ISIS graphic novel Indiegogo. And there will be other live streams in the future because, again, people ask me for them. So this is me providing customer service to my customers and my viewers who take time to watch my live streams. I don't think Jude Law is Mar-Vell, because I looked at the Marvel Legends packaging and it says that he's Yon-Rogg. Because you look at the back of the box, Supremo, it'll say Yon-Rogg. But I think that what they want to do is they want to downplay Mar-Vell. So they've renamed him so that he cannot be Mar-Vell, because we know that Mar-Vell was the original Captain Marvel. But he was the original Captain Marvel, and they want to downplay it so that they can make Carol Danvers Captain Marvel. But we all know Captain Marvel was originally a man. So, excuse me, but that's the sinuses again. But Captain Marvel, again, if you've read the comic, you know that Captain Marvel was a man. He was a white-haired, white Kree, and then Eon changed his hair to blonde. So we know who this is, but they just want to try to change the narrative for the character. Beyonce is Wonder Woman. Oh, no, that would be absolutely awful. Beyonce, you're welcome, Christopher. Okay. Looks like we got 3 minutes left, and then I'm going to wrap up the live stream. But Beyonce as Wonder Woman, no, that just wouldn't have worked at all. Gal Gadot did an amazing job as Wonder Woman. A lot of people thought she couldn't do it. Even I thought she couldn't do it. But once I watched the movie, she captured the spirit of Diana Prince and Wonder Woman on screen, and she did an amazing job. Now I can't think of anyone else as Wonder Woman today because of the job that she did. Looks like, I don't know if that's a troll or not, but he's got to go. So Beyonce can't act, so I can think of other actresses who would make a better Nubia Supreme. I think a lot of other actresses who could do a better job. So there are a lot of better actresses who could do Nubia, and Beyonce is not one of them. When I think of acting, I don't think of Beyonce. I just think all she knows how to do is this Miss Independent singing and dancing, and leave her to the Miss Independent singing and dancing. So I would think of there's some really good actresses out there who could easily play Nubia. out there. And I would love to see her in Wonder Woman 84, but I know it's not going to happen. I think they're going to go with Cheetah. Yeah, I think they're going to go with Cheetah instead. And Cheetah's a good villain for Wonder Woman, but I really wish they had done something with Dr. Cyber. She's an underrated character they should have really done something with, but it looks like they're not going to do anything with her. I wish they had done something with her, but that's not where they're going to go. It's looking like it's about 2 o'clock, so I'm going to wrap up this stream. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to participate in the live stream and be a part of the live stream. I want to thank everybody who donated to the Super Chat. I really enjoyed spending time with you guys, and I'm hoping to spend more time with you guys in the future. If you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, you may do so by heading over to Amazon.com and picking up those books that pre-orders for ISIS All That Glitters. You can pick up the other ISIS series books, and you can pick up The Man's Crisis on Amazon.com as well. I thank you again for spending time with me on the live stream, and I'm hoping to see you in the next show.